thinking human, which I just love it in its simplicity, and that is treating every customer like they were your only customer.
Right.
Who's going to argue with that on a conceptual level? But from your perspective, where in the journey from the concept and the intentions to the execution do marketers usually stray from this approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a number of touch points where there's vulnerability. And the vulnerability comes in really not because you want to be vulnerable, but because economics in a way sort of force you in that regard. So let's take the first place, which is sort of hours to sales guidelines. How many people do you have on the floor?
Yes.
It is really hard to treat every customer as if they're your only customer if you have a lot of customers coming in. And so the first place is from an operations perspective, really getting great data to start making some good decisions as to how many salespeople do you need to have on the floor on a Wednesday versus a Saturday. The second place is what I would say the biggest area of vulnerability is in the post-purchase experience. And here's why. We in the United States think about customer service as triage. In Japan, and I had the privilege of living in Japan for a month, they look at customer service as the opportunity to strengthen the relationship. So when it comes to things like warranties, I have a problem, something breaks, you can almost hear the person, if you're nice enough to be able to get somebody on the phone, reading from a playbook.
Yes.
And the thing is that it's not about a playbook, it's about a process. And that process has to be fluid. If it is day 31 and I have a 30-day warranty, you've got to treat the consumer a little bit differently than if it's day 131.
Yes.
If you're dealing with a product that costs $5, there's a different level of expectation of quality of service and care and maybe durability than if you're paying something that's $3,000. So it's being able to vacillate what you're doing for who you're doing it for and when in their purchase cycle they live. Regardless, though, it should be a human experience. It is not about a transaction, it is about a relationship. And so I think the post-purchase aspect is probably the most vulnerable, but it's also the easiest opportunity to win because we've been conditioned as people to expect the worst.
Yes.
To expect the bureaucracy. We have all walked by people screaming into their phone, representative, representative, or hitting 0 45 times to bypass all the automated. And the automated stuff is not there to stop you. It is there with best intention.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't work. So I think post-purchase is probably the greatest area of vulnerability.
That is fantastic. And that is so, I mean, in one point, it makes sense why maybe, well, we've got the purchase, so da-da-da-da. But to your point, like, that's where they're now, like, your fan, your user, your person, like, you've got them, up to the point of consideration and purchase, they're a maybe, but that you don't leverage the opportunity of a yes.
It is so much more expensive to get a new customer than to keep an existing one.